Hello Libra, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for December for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you a broad overview of what to expect, then dive deep with a forensically detailed forecast of what to expect. Now, as this month begins, Venus, your ruler, is in a conjunction with Pluto. Pluto's the planet of transformation, but it's been causing mischief for Libra people since 2008, depending on where exactly you have your planets or your ascendant in the sign of Libra. Now, Venus is very much to do in terms of your sign with relating, but it can be to do with aesthetics, diplomacy, charm, design, fashion, and it gives you instincts in these areas which are really acute. Pluto, of course, is about transformation, but it's also about power. Now, I feel since that 2008 transit into Capricorn, and particularly 2 years ago when Jupiter, Saturn and the cardinal eclipses were occurring across the signs of Cancer and Capricorn, I think there's possibly been a lot of turbulence for an awful lot of Libran people when it comes to where you live, how you live there, the people you're surrounded with, perhaps family matters, more emotional issues. All of these have really been under intense scrutiny because Pluto is not an influence we can easily resist. We just can't, because it's much better with Pluto to go with things. But of course, sometimes we can be so shocked at people's attitudes, because Pluto is very much also to do with ruthlessness, that we're stunned in our responses. But what I feel this December is going to give you the opportunity to do is bring some healing to your emotional situation, to a family situation, to issues about where you live. But it will be a choice, and it may be that there's going to be someone who wants a kind of rapprochement with you, and you may have a big decision to make about what to do. Now, the other key strand this month concerns the eclipse of the 4th. This provides energy for the last 3 weeks of the year, but also into the first 5 months of next year. And the sign of Sagittarius, where the eclipse occurs for you, is about your everyday thinking. It can be about technology, can be about teaching and training and ideas, but it's forging a very stable link with Saturn. Now, Saturn is much maligned, of course, because it can be about restraint and restriction, but this influence is telling you that if you really get it all together around your personal expression, your ideas, your creativity, you can achieve an enormous amount over the next half year. So those are two very exciting standout elements of the month. Now, if you're new to my channel, I would be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Every time I drop a video, you will get an alert. If you would like to get your free written daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, I've been writing these for over 25 years. I write for Britain's most read newspaper, the Metro, and for the British Press Association, and my content goes around the world in different digital platforms. But you can get your daily horoscope direct to your device each morning by subscribing on the link below. And finally, with year 2022 just around the proverbial corner, if you'd like to get your personal forecast for next year, ascend above this zodiac forecast. Based on your time, date and place of birth, if you order it in 21, you get the rest of the year free, plus next year, plus your character analysis and 30% off. Gain searing insights of what to expect, but also where you can seize opportunities but avoid pitfalls. Please see the link beneath this video. So welcome Libra to your monthly horoscope for December. Now, as November came to a close, there was the reignition of the feud, if you like, the feud between the rulers of the sign of Aquarius, of Saturn and Uranus. Now, the reason that this is being activated again is because they've both been going through a retrograde. Now, Saturn ended its retrograde on the 11th of October, but Uranus goes on till January next year. So essentially, Saturn's going forwards, Uranus is retreating. So on Christmas Eve, we're going to have an absolute square once more. Now, the thing about difficult influences is that each time they pass, I think we get better and more adept at dealing with the challenges of them. And I think that can be true for you as well. Now, of course, Saturn can be about restriction, but because of that glorious link it's forging to the solar eclipse of the 4th, it's supporting you handsomely this month. But in that angle with Uranus, Uranus is in the part of your horoscope to do with very deep relationships, devotions. It can also be to do with joint finances or business matters. If you're pouring energy into a situation, whether it is a love relationship or a business association or a business project, and you just don't feel that you're being rewarded in the way that you should be, that can create a lot of frustration. But this month also begins with Neptune, the planet of dreams, ending a retrograde on day 1 in your sector of sacrifice and work. If your physical vitality has felt lower since the end of June, then I feel that can ease, and that's something to really celebrate. Also, the first 10 days of this month, there is an enormously potent link between Mars, which is in your sector of finances for the first half of this month, and Pluto. Now, these two are the modern and traditional rulers of the sign of Scorpio. So it's passion central when these two are activated. But your ruler Venus is in the mix as well. And when Mars and Venus are in a sweet sextile, as they are here, Pluto's in the mix as well. It's possible that something to do with a property matter can come to pass, which really, really pleases you. It could even be some family money assists your situation in some way, or a renovation you've done receives a much higher valuation than you're expecting, or that perfect property comes up for you to move into. But it's also the case that Neptune is linking very well with these guys too. So in general, I feel anything to do with your resources, home, emotion, family is given a big boost right at the start of the month. But that solar eclipse on the 4th links with Saturn and provides a backdrop for the first 5.5 months of next year. So it's kind of saying to you where you can get your ideas really clear, express them with conviction, do your research in a very adroit way. There's every chance you can get it all together and make progress. I just think Uranus in the mix is just kind of saying, well, don't necessarily expect instant results. You're going to need to stay flexible. And, you know, as long as you can go with the flow, I think things are looking much more positive. Now, on the 11th, Venus goes into the first of its 2 conjunctions with Pluto. This is exact. Now, I feel it's possible that someone from your past that has not treated you particularly well over the last few years may be in touch. It could be a text message, a Christmas card, and you may have a decision to make whether to respond. Maybe you're still doing the right thing and sending those things anyway. But maybe somebody wants a bit more because Pluto is about traction. So just remember that where affection is showed, and in some way someone's being ultra charming, there could be the leverage coming from Pluto, because Pluto's about politics. It's also about secrets, plotting, the dark arts of control, manipulation, and so on. So this is one of those aspects that can be very positive, but just watch out for your own motives and be conscious of anyone else's that you come into contact with. The 13th sees Mercury make its way into the 4th house. Now, Mercury 4th house transits are not the best. They can make us a bit more introspective. We find it more difficult to articulate our emotions. But wonderfully for you, on the 13th, although Mars has been giving you a good leg up as far as finances and resources are concerned, it then speeds into Sagittarius to replace Mercury. So that's a great thing to have, because Mars is the ruler of the second decan of the sign of Sagittarius. So that's wonderful. That's going to give you more traction to express yourself and your ideas. So even if Mercury could make you a little bit more tentative about the emotional dimension, Mars is giving you a lot of extra power, thrust. Now also from the 16th through to the 21st, an extraordinarily potentially lucky period. Now you don't hear me talking about luck very much with my astrology. I'm much more likely to say the potential for fortune, but Jupiter is the planet of luck traditionally, and it's in the most risk-taking part of your scope, the 5th house. But of course it was in retrograde until the 18th of October, and you've had Saturn there as well, which has been kind of slowing the more excessive desires of Jupiter down. But now its link in a sextile with the Sun means that Jupiter is the ruler of the sign of Sagittarius along with Pisces. So we have a mutual receptivity because there are commonalities between these two signs. Sagittarius is free-spirited, independent-minded, quite frank in its personal expression, like space. But you could say all of those things for Aquarius people too. So if there is somebody, for example, that you really fancy because Jupiter's in your 5th house of romance, and there is some kind of festive gathering and you're allowed to get up close and personal in the particular territory, state or country that you're located in, then you could have an incredibly charismatic and sparkling connection to someone, or you could have the most fabulous festive evening. And it really depends on your unique circumstances and what you're wanting from your life. But the sensitivity that is developing this month in your 4th house does mean that you've learned such lessons over recent years that you don't necessarily take how other people are so much at face value. You're wanting to check people out much more cautiously. And I think Venus in that conjunction with Pluto can help you to do that, because Pluto can be about deep analysis. Now there is a full moon on the 19th of December in the sign of Gemini, which is all about exploration and widening your horizons. But then hold on, that's what the energy of Sagittarius is as well. I think if you can, you might want to create an opportunity to get away from it in some way. Now, maybe that's going to be a brief sojourn if you want to spend Christmas at home, because that wouldn't be a surprise. Or you could be attracted to people who really inspire you intellectually. If there's someone that you're really fond of, you fancy them even, but you find them a bit dull conversation-wise, this full moon is cautioning you not to give away that desire for that stimuli, because that's something you're going to crave. But your ruler Venus does go into reverse on the 19th. So I think you're going to start thinking more deeply about relationships in general at this time. And then we have the last cardinal quadrant of the year with the winter solstice, and the sun makes its way into Capricorn. So you have an overlay from the full moon which could see you restless, wanting to break out and do something different. But the homing instincts of Mercury, the sun now, Venus and Pluto are going to be very strong. Now, as the year comes to a close, Mars is advanced forwards in the sign of Sagittarius, and it's forging a brilliant link with Saturn. So again, this is augmenting the energies of the solar eclipse of the 4th. So embrace this handsomely. And just at the very end of this month, Jupiter moves back into the sign of Pisces. It's been there this year before, went into retrograde, and then it came back into Aquarius on the 28th of July. So for the last 3 days of the year, it goes into your sector of health, work, diet, fitness, obligation, responsibility. So a lot of us set New Year's resolutions, don't we? We don't always keep them. That's part of the process that we all go through. But if you are wanting to get a little fitter, you're wanting to look a little bit more carefully at the nutrients that you're absorbing, read packets more, cook more from scratch, in some ways reform your world, look for a job that gives you greater satisfaction. Neptune has been seeing you pour sacrifice into situations since 2012, but it can't be all give, Libra. It has to be get as well. So that's really what you're cautioned to find the balance around as you come into this new year. But something around the deepest emotional needs of your situation, which has been severely rocked in recent years, does have the potential for some healing this month. Or maybe you have to be tough back in response to someone else's very ruthless behaviour. But it's not the stars or the planets telling you what to do, nor me. It will be your choice. But Venus coming back into a conjunction on Christmas Day with Pluto gives you a big choice. And of course on Christmas Eve we got that big hit between Saturn and Uranus. That becomes exact for the third time this year. So if it's a romantic relationship where there's a lot of spark, you really fancy them, but they just do not know how to nurture, they don't know how to invest in you emotionally, there's a meanness about the home in terms of creating safety and security and comfort, or it's a case of you're the one who's contributing everything to the relationship. I think that Venus and Pluto and this winter solstice is really saying to you, enough is enough, or there could be some kind of recovery situation, or you're going to move and find that perfect home and create your very special nurturing environment for you to prosper for years to come. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Libra. I wish you a very happy Christmas and New Year. Take care and goodbye.